Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Cool. Why is this?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, I was just trying to make my headphones work, but it doesn't look like it's going to work today.
Yeah, I've only got these headphones. Like I've got the Bluetooth ones, but they always drop out.
Yeah,
Will it look odd if I have headphones in?
it'll be. Do you have AirPods or anything of the sort?
Yeah, they're the ones that always drop out though.
Right.
I can try them. Hold on.
No, you can just use the laptop. It's fine. Oh, forgot about. I've got to make you the host. I just remembered, and then I've got to take it away from you because you're the only one who can do the Q&A.
Oh, you mean go live?
Yeah, go live. Actually, let me try and go live now and see what happens, just to be sure.
Hi, Auntie.
Hello, I can't get in.
Yeah.
It's saying the webinar has expired. Have you guys sent the old link?
Yeah, that's the same thing that happened to me, Sean.
Can she
I'll send you
try?
another
Can she
link
try
now.
again now? Can she try
Pardon?
again now?
Do you want to try again now? It might have been because it wasn't started.
Okay. Do you want to? Okay, I'll refresh. Try with the number. I'll put in the number. Is that right?
Yeah, I'll send you the other one as well.
It should be the same link. I'm assuming
It
you just
should be
copy.
the same link. Yeah.
That number's not going in.
That number doesn't work, Sean. So we need to update the.
That's interesting. Give me a sec.
You want me to try the Zoom link?
I'm just gonna send. Yeah, that's the link. Copy
Yeah,
link address.
So it says meeting ID. Type that
Yeah,
number.
that's what happened. Can we update that on the Facebook now, Sean?
Sure.
I'm
I don't actually have access to the Facebook.
You don't?
I don't. To post as YSPN, I can post as myself, obviously.
Try that one. Okay, hold on. I'll just edit the thing.
So the link in my original email worked, but not in the one not in your email didn't. Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying? Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I got yours from the Teams. I'll copy this now. Yeah. So that's the link. Do you want me to Facebook it so you can just click straight into it? Yeah. Hold on. I'll just forward this email to you.
Oh yeah, it looks like it's somehow got a new number.
Yeah, can you
Yeah, the one I copied today is different to the one you sent out at 12 o'clock.
yeah.
Give me a sec, I'll sort this out now.
Okay, I'm just editing. Can you edit Eventbrite?
Oh, you mean the event page or?
Yeah, because it's got the link in there.
I can't edit the email that we sent out, but I'll edit Eventbrite if we've got the link in there. Yeah, I'll do that now.
I've sent you the email, Auntie. Yeah. Not sure how to edit this.
Where is the Zoom link on Eventbrite?
Is it there?
No, it isn't, but I should add, I'll just add it.
Yeah, just add it in there. I'll try this one.
Are you posting it on the YSPN Facebook page?
I posted it in the event. Yeah, I updated the link in the event.
Cool. I will also, I think we should
Can
just
you
send
just
out.
email the attendees and just be
That's-
like, there seems
That's
to
what
be
I'm doing
some,
as well.
oh yeah, cool.
I'm
Just
doing.
say there seems to be some troubleshooting.
Yep.
Here's a link to the webinar once again, if you have
Yep.
any problems. Oh, I just gotta sort this out.
The event starts in 15 minutes. Please use the Ruth, can I make you the host? I'll make you the host so that you can live stream.
Join. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can. Hello.
Do I need headphones? Is that volume okay?
The
No,
volume's
volume's
okay.
fine.
There might just be some background noise, like some echoing.
What do you want me to do?
Okay.
Do you want me to put in headphones or not?
It's up Sean, what do you think?
Sorry, you're off.
Oh, you're on mute.
I think it's fine. It's not,
Okay.
I can hear.
All right. Are we, so Prithvi, are we going to do questions while we're talking, or you're going to facilitate the questions you've sent?
Yeah, the questions that I sent,
Yeah.
I'll go through them, and
Yep.
then at the end there'll be 20 minutes for anyone to ask questions.
And maybe I'll just let you know the results of our poll as well.
Oh, have we got a lot?
Let me have a quick look. We've got 7 responses.
Okay, so I think we run through the poll again.
Yeah, I think we should. I've already built in the poll, so the poll's ready to go.
Okay, so I think to kick it off,
You should see it because you're the host now. You should see it down there at the bottom. Do you
the
see polls?
Yeah.
Yep. Don't type it now, but
Yeah.
once you click on it, you'll have the ability to launch polling.
Yeah.
So that might be something you'd want to do when all the attendees are here and you're doing your intro.
I think you do that.
It's gonna be hard because of Facebook Live,
What do you mean it's going to be hard?
because only the host can do Facebook Live. So
Oh, okay.
yeah. So if you don't mind doing that, and then I'll take back the host from you when we do our question and answer.
I
And
think,
I
yes.
have a full recorded session. The webinar is being recorded regardless.
So
recorded session.
if you take back host, will that stop the Facebook Live?
I believe so. Yeah, it will.
So we don't want to do that though.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that for the. I'm just trying to figure out. Actually,
For the whole thing.
Are you an admin for YSPN?
Yeah.
Can you make me an admin quickly? If that's
Yeah.
okay.
That's probably why you probably couldn't go live.
That could be, but it was just my computer was lagging a bit the other day when I tried to go live. That's all.
How do I make you an admin? Oh, is that? Oh,
I think it's just page and page roles or something. And then, are you my Facebook friend? You might need to be to make me an admin.
there's like. Oh no, only Ramneek's the admin, and he's made us all editors.
Right. Can you make me anything, or you don't have that right?
No,
You don't.
I don't have that. I don't know where he is.
Oh, you haven't been able to reach him?
I'll call him now.
I'm calling him now. I'm on the phone to him.
We love technology.
Gotta love it. Ramneek? Ramneek? Hey brother, any chance you can make me an admin of the FB page so I can stream live or an editor? Thanks, mate. Yeah, thanks. All right, see you later. Cool. We've got Dr. Kuljit Singh. Preeti,
Yeah.
I'm going to take back host for a second. I'm just going to upgrade
Mhm.
Dr. Kuljit, who just joined. Reclaim host.
Oh, there we go.
You want to text it? Oh, there we go.
Hello. You're muted, Kulji.
I think I can unmute her as well.
Done.
So basically, I'll run you guys through. So I'm just going to kick it off. Going to thank everyone for tuning in. I'm going to give like a brief summary of what the webinar's about, and then I'll introduce Auntie Jatinder. I'll introduce you first and give like a short bio. So just wave to everyone maybe when I'm introducing you, and then Kuljit, I'll introduce yourself.
Yeah.
And we're going to just run through some housekeeping things like on how to ask a question, that everyone's mics are muted, cameras are turned off, and then we're going to run through how it's going to run. So we're going to do a 40-minute facilitated session, and then we're going to do a 20-minute Q&A, and we're going to just tell people how they ask questions. And we're also just going to be telling people that it's going to be Facebook live streamed as well, so they can watch it on Facebook and ask questions on the live stream in Facebook as well.
Yeah.
And then the 40 minutes will just be myself asking those questions. So I'm going to kick it off with yourself, Kuljit, and ask you that first question, that paper that I sent you. And then Auntie, I've sent you, and then I will go into yourself. And then those following 3 to 7, that will just be questions to both of you that I'll ask both your perspectives on. And hopefully that should take us to 40 minutes, those 8 questions, because they're quite detailed.
Okay.
And then we'll kick off the Q&A.
Yep.
Any
Yep.
questions?
No, it's good.
Right. Cool.
Okay, cool. Looks like I've got Facebook Live pretty much set up and ready to go.
Okay, that's great.
Give me 1 sec. How are you going, Jacinda?
Yeah, all right. How are you going?
Good, good, good.
You're in scrubs today, hey?
Yes, yes. I've been wearing them at work actually for the last quite a few weeks now. So yeah, yeah. It's much easier to sort of, you know, get out of them and just put them in the wash and yeah, much, much easier. So it's good. And they're quite comfortable too.
Well, there you go. No stress about what you have to wear each day, isn't it?
Exactly right. Exactly right. So no, I'm happy. I'm happy with that.
Now, have you given the warnings to the household to remain quiet? Because I had to.
Yes,
I
yes.
had to as well. I was like, no Kirtan, no Vaja, just everyone just get out of here. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, somebody's coming to sign documents. And I was like, do you even know what's going on in my life? Do you take any interest?
Oh dear. Yeah, no, Manu's got the girls over there. Hopefully you won't hear them screaming.
Okay.
Is this your first webinar that we're doing?
Yeah, first ever for YSPN.
Okay.
Wow.
So we have, are there any non-YSPN attendees on the call yet? Sean,
Yep.
how do I see the participants on the call?
We've got 8 participants currently.
Okay.
You should be able to see it top. Do you see participants 12?
Yeah. See the
Top
number.
left.
I don't know who it is.
Oh yeah, participants 12.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Ricky,
Attendees.
if we're our answers are going on too long, will you sort of give us like a T sign or something like that to sort of tell us to quieten down and move on? Because we can keep rambling, I'm sure.
No, that's okay. We've just got so we've got 12 people on the call at the moment.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think so. I think it should be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever you feel is relevant.
Yeah.
So just try and keep your answers, you know, between, you know, max 5 minutes.
Yeah.
If that's okay. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, we've got some people. We've got 9 at the moment. So just give it 5 more minutes to all the attendees that have joined early, and we'll kick off the proceedings at 5 o'clock.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I might just go and grab some water as well. Good idea, Jatinder. One sec.
Now, Priti, are we going to need to keep an eye on the chat questions that come up or not? Sorry, can't hear you.
Yeah, I'll explain how that works once we go live at 5.
Okay.
Yep. So I've just gone live on Facebook.
Mhm.
So we'll kick off. You can see 18 people online at the moment. Feel free to use the chat box at the bottom of your screen if you want to chat, put in your name, where you're from. Be good to see where our attendees are coming from today. Oh, they're all shy. Oh, Ramneek's here from Sydney.
Mhm.
He's also the YSPN chair, so he's not very shy. Amardeep, also a YSPN member. Shristi from Melbourne. Oh, they're rolling in.
Wow.
Natasha, New Zealand. Manisha, Brizzy. Guneet, Melbourne. Devinda from Melbourne. Caitlin from Melbourne. Prabjot from Melbourne. Pramesh from Sydney. Gursage, Brisbane. Jeevan Pal Singh from PERTG.
Perth.
Perth, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Nisha from Melbourne. Hi, Nisha. Hi, everyone. All right, so that was a nice way to get to know you all. So we might kick off then. I just want to say thank you to everyone for hello, Balraj from Perth, from spending your Saturday night with us today at this webinar, the first of its kind for YSPN. I'm sure that you all had great Saturday night plans with the isolation and government measures, so I'm sure that this is exactly where you want to be. The reason that the YSPN team has decided to host tonight's webinar is because the impact of the current COVID-19 pandemic has impacted many of us and many businesses in many different ways. During these unprecedented times, we just want to let you all know that it's completely normal not to feel normal, and we're all in the same boat. Particularly concerning is feelings of loss, grief, and isolation that vulnerable members of our community may also be experiencing during this difficult time. Our thoughts at YSPN also extend to victims of domestic and family violence, children, women, men, elderly included, who may now be isolated with their perpetrators with limited visibility and a limited support network. Joining us today to provide professional medical advice and practical tips and strategies to maintain positive mental health and physical health during these unprecedented times is Jatinder Kaur. Jatinder is an accredited bilingual mental health clinician and a social worker who has treated many clients with anxiety, depression, PTSD, complex trauma, and assisted victims of domestic and family violence. We've also got Dr. Kuljit Singh, a general practitioner from the Gold Coast with a special interest in preventative and lifestyle health. Dr. Kuljit has provided medical advice to many members of our community, those vulnerable members included, and regularly hosts health workshops at the Guru Manyo Granth Gold Coast Gurdwara. So a few housekeeping rules before we start. I know we always have to do the boring things before we get into the juicy bit of the webinar. Our YSPN platform lead, so you'll see on the screen on YSPN social, his name's Sean. He's a little bit shy, so his camera's turned off, but please make him feel welcome. He's muted everyone's mics and cameras today to avoid background noise and distractions. If you do wish to ask a question, we'll have a 20-minute Q&A session after the 40-minute facilitated part of the webinar. To do so, you can either click the button on your screen that says raise your hand. It is a virtual hand. You don't have to physically raise your hand, technology these days. Or if you feel like you're going to forget your question or you have a very pressing or important comment to make, please post it in the chat box like you all just did, telling me your names and where you're from. The webinar is Facebook Live. We're all Facebook Live at the moment. There will be people that are streaming in via Facebook today. So the people that are streaming, you can also post your questions and your comments on the Facebook live stream, and a member of our YSPN team will be monitoring and filtering those questions through to the webinar today. If you have any technical difficulties in joining the Zoom call, just remember that it is Facebook live streamed. So jump onto Facebook and continue the webinar there. If there's any technical difficulties with myself or the speakers, we have a backup facilitator and a backup host on standby as well, who's very excited to go live if need be. And a copy of the recording will be made available to participants and via our social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter after this webinar. So please feel free to share it with anyone you feel would benefit from the information that is being provided today. So now that the housekeeping's done, we did email through a poll to everyone, but we only got 7 responses. So in order to make this a little bit more interactive and to tailor the information that our speakers provide you all today, we do want to run that poll. It's just going to take 20 minutes. So I'll get our platform leads to put that poll up on the screen. Can everyone see the poll? Oh, there we go, it's up there. So if you could just, I cannot vote, and the speakers cannot vote, but if you can all just answer those questions and press submit, and then we'll post our answers following. So give you a little bit more time to finish that. I did forget to introduce myself as well. So I am your host today. My name is Priti and I am the Brisbane lead of the YSPN. So once everyone's done there, if you haven't introduced yourself or you've just joined us, we do ask that you type your name and where you're from in the chat box. Oh, we've got a comment from Jaspreet saying, great to have such an awesome forum. We've got an Auckland person joining us, Hashareen, Malika from Sydney, Satyarit from Sydney, Avneet from Canberra, Sonam from London. Welcome, Sonam. Look at that, international attendees. Arvind from Melbourne, welcome. Rajit from Gold Coast, you might know him, Kuljit.
Maybe.
Hermeet from Brisbane. G'day all, Manny from the sunny Sunshine Coast. Wow. Hasbeen from Sydney, Thanbir from Sydney. So we've got 39 people on the call at the moment. Sophia from Auckland, welcome Sophia. Hello. So once that poll's done, we'll post those results. We might just kick off because it may take some time to collate the answers from that poll. So now that we've got the housekeeping and the poll done, I'm going to move to the 40-minute facilitated part of the webinar. So I might kick off with yourself, Dr. Singh, with my first question, which is, what is the importance of maintaining good physical health during this time? And what are some tips and strategies that you can provide our attendees about how to maintain and implement a healthy lifestyle?
Yeah, thanks, Preeti, and thanks, YSPN. Thank you, everyone, for attending today. So look, health is more important now than ever before, and I'll be talking about physical health, obviously, but mental health will also be, it's very important too. Looking at the physical health, basically we know that if our health deteriorates, our immunity will drop. If our immunity goes down, we don't have our defense mechanisms like our soldiers that help us fight off any infection. It doesn't have to be just COVID-19. It could be any other infections, viruses, bacteria that, you know, may be coming our way. So we really want to make sure that our immune system is right up there. We want to optimize it as much as possible. So that's one reason that we want to optimize our physical health. But the other reason is also that if we've got any chronic conditions going on at the moment, it makes us a little bit more susceptible to actually getting COVID-19, or if we do get it, then it might be a bit more severe. So again, we want to optimize any of those chronic medical conditions too, so that we've lessened the chance of any attack from COVID-19 as well. Now, if we maintain optimal health ourselves, maybe seeking our GP or any other health professionals, we will hopefully be able to stay out of the hospital system, which right now, all of our frontliners there need to really be focusing on COVID-19 and the current pandemic. So we can take that burden and that pressure off the hospital system by maintaining our own health at home. So there are a few of the reasons why it's really, really important to make sure we're looking after ourselves. So now if I can share a few tips and strategies on lifestyle factors, and hopefully you'll find these quite helpful. Now, I've actually got a little acronym. It might help you remember a little bit better as well. So I've called it the SNAP acronym. So within S, the letter S, we've got 5 different things. So we've got sleep. Number 1 is sleep, okay? So we really underestimate the role of sleep. We all need to have at least 6 to 8 hours of good quality, regular sleep. Really, really vital, because it helps us rejuvenate, regenerate, heal. You know, we function better the next day, as you all know, but it helps us with our immune system again. So we need to have good sleep hygiene and make sure that that is a priority as well, okay? Next thing is stress, which I'm sure Jithendraji will be talking about as well, so I won't go into it too much, but it is really important to recognize ourselves if we are feeling stressed and make sure that every day we do actually give ourselves time to sort of downshift, if you like. You know, take a bit of time out to just be with yourself, really try to relax, be mindful of where you are, take a couple of deep breaths. You know, if there's a hobby that you enjoy, do that, but it's really, really important that we do manage that stress level as well. Now, the other thing which is really important right now, within the S again, is socializing. So yes, at the moment, we are physically distancing, but we should not be socially distancing. And that's so important. So now more than ever before, we've got social media at our fingertips. We really need to stay connected. So that means, you know, with our family, with our friends, with our neighbours, with our other community members, with our colleagues, or anyone else who may be in need. You know, we should be able to just pick up the phone rather than sending a text message, maybe give them a call and say, you know, are you okay? Can I do anything to help you out? Just helps each of us to feel like we do have someone else with us. We're not doing this alone. And that's really, really important, to feel that we are all in this together. That's really, really important. Now, the other thing, 2 things with S. One is spirituality, and I'm not referring to being religious or, you know, having certain beliefs or anything, but just having faith in something or someone. It could be an organization, it could be a religion, it could be anything, but we know that if you do have some sort of a strong belief, that can also keep us centered, keep us a bit more focused and grounded as well. So that can be quite a helpful tool as well. And the last thing actually in the S is selflessness. So we also now, it's been scientifically proven that if we do perform selfless acts, like charitable acts, you know, things like, you know, helping someone out, that actually releases these positive endorphins, like your dopamine, your oxytocin, in the brain, which are actually going to the pleasure center or the reward center. So it actually makes you feel good. So not only are you helping somebody else out, you know, but it's actually making you feel better too. So, you know, in this current pandemic, you would have heard of things like, you know, the Queensland Care Army or neighbourhoods where people are trying to help each other out without physically doing it, but just being there available, maybe picking up groceries for your elderly couple next door, you know, just random acts of kindness. But that can actually be really, really helpful for your health as well. Now, coming on to N. So N stands for nutrition. And in nutrition, I'm talking about obviously water intake first. So make sure you are having at least 6 to 8 glasses of water a day, or close to 2 litres, to keep yourself well hydrated. And as you all know, that's really important for a lot of our organs to function properly. Diet. Now, it's really important that you're not skipping meals. You're having regular meals, low in sugar, low in fat, good in protein, but predominantly make sure you're trying to avoid too many of the processed foods and drinks. You know, if you can have more of the plant sort of based, you know, materials, legumes, mixed nuts, things like that. And eat regularly as well. So that's really, really important, because we get a lot of our goodness, obviously, from what we eat, what we drink as well. So that's really important too. Coming on to A, so remain active. So it's really important that we're constantly moving, whether you call it exercise or just general movement. But now, again, more than ever before, you need to make sure you get out of the house, maybe go for a 30 to 45-minute brisk walk or cycle ride, you know, anything, but it needs to be at least 5 days a week. Again, that releases positive endorphins. It's great for our cardiac system. It's good for our mental health as well. Keeps our joints going. And it's going to prevent us from putting on too much weight, which can be a problem in this current situation of social isolation. We don't want to see our population becoming too obese, which, you know, actually it's been proven also that obesity is actually increasing, again, COVID-19 severity in Europe. We've seen that I think it's almost 7-fold severity where people who are obese are actually requiring ventilators as compared to their non-obese counterparts. So it is a very serious topic, and we don't want to end up, you know, couch potatoes. We want to look after our health for that reason as well. So that's important. So please keep active. Another thing is to, you know, while we've got time, for some of us, we may be at home now, maybe looking at an activity that you once used to enjoy, maybe in your childhood or your teen years, maybe something that could be a bit more creative. That can also be a very positive, it can have a positive effect on our health and well-being as well. So, you know, you may enjoy painting, drawing, music, singing, anything at all, whatever takes your fancy, but try to find one little niche or one little activity that really makes you feel good, and try to implement that, you know, if you can, even just for 15-20 minutes a day. I think that will be really therapeutic as well. Moving on to the final one, which is P, so letter P, having a purpose. Obviously in life, that's always important. So, you know, for those of you who can still work from home, that's excellent. You know, it still gives you that purpose in life. For those of you who may have lost jobs or for the time being might not be able to work, you know, maybe look at, I guess, other online courses or other ways that you might be able to create a business from home, you know, using social media, or if not, actually working, again, volunteering your help or your services too. The final P is physical problems. So like I said before, make sure if you do suffer from any chronic physical problems, now is the time to go to your GP, make sure that everything has been checked, it's been optimized. So I'm talking about things like diabetes, blood pressure, you know, asthma, lung conditions, cardiac conditions. Go for an overall checkup, okay, to your GP, and make sure that everything is the way it really needs to be. So maximize your health. You may not have to have a face-to-face consultation with your GP. It might just be over the telephone. As you all know, we can now do, you know, telephone consultations with you. So you can be in the safety of your house, comfort of your house, and still have that, you know, reassurance and confidence that your GP will be looking after you as well. And that's so, so important. So yeah, the SNAP rule for you guys, hopefully that helped you. That's just a few tips for you for today.
Yeah, I love the SNAP rule. Like, definitely one way to remember it. And we'll definitely be getting that information off you and sending that all to the participants after the webinar as well, because that's just such a easy way to remember how to look after ourselves and how to look after our family as well. So thank you so much for sharing that, Dr. Singh.
No worries.
Jitendra, similarly, what's the importance of maintaining good mental health during this time, and how would someone even recognize that they're experiencing emotions above the everyday stresses to maybe anxiety or depression?
All right. Well, I mean, Dr. Singh's gone through quite in depth now. Can you hear me okay? Yeah.
Yes, we can.
No worries. I think the first thing is to have some perspective that this is a pandemic, this is a global pandemic, and that if we consume too much information about everything to do with coronavirus or COVID-19, is that it is information overload to our brain. So, so maintaining perspective and sort of understanding that all of the governments across the world, all the medical, you know, profession and health and researchers are working to absolutely address and tackle this issue. So, you know, they're working on trying to develop a vaccine. And so everyone's focus is on preserving life. Okay, so maintaining that perspective is that this time will pass, that this is not going to be here forever. Yes, it has caused a huge disruption to, you know, possibly all of the plans that we might have had for 2020, you know, whatever you might have, travel plans, you know, work plans or life goals, whether it's, you know, getting married or engaged or, you know, buying a house, you know, so many things that we might have planned, which may just now be put on pause for, you know, a little while until we're going and through this phase. Mental health, look, stress is common. You know, in our life development, we will experience stress. So I think it's really important to first understand and recognizing when it is severe stress. So stress can, you know, be a real risk factor for developing a mental illness like anxiety and depression. So whenever I see patients in clinic, the key symptoms that I, you know, hear out for, and Dr. Singh mentioned a few of them, was sleep. So if they have sleep disturbance, they can't go to sleep, or they're only getting a few hours of sleep, that means that their brain is constantly switched on and it's not actually switching off from all their worries and their stress. Appetite is probably the second symptom that I will always, you know, check for. Okay, are they eating regularly, you know, or are they not eating, or are they overeating? So, you know, those are probably three different things that will happen. And then probably what's their concentration level and their thinking patterns, you know. Are they struggling to concentrate at work, at home? You know, are they getting snappy, agitated, you know, losing hope? Are they feeling, you know, thoughts of hopelessness, helplessness? These are all symptoms of both, you know, anxiety and depression that you would recognize then if the stress is becoming severe. How do we manage stress in this time of, you know, uncertainty? And, you know, what we are wanting to do is to sort of look at, well, how do we build a healthy balance? How do we sort of ensure that we're looking after our mind, body, and spirit? So Dr. Singh's definitely talked about a lot of the physical and the body aspect, the things that to strengthen our mind. First, I would be looking at mental stimulation. What are we doing? You know, if so there's a saying, an idle mind is a dangerous thing. So making sure that we have purpose, making sure that we have structure. So if a lot of people are working from home, the key thing is to maintain your routine. Just because you're working from home doesn't mean that you sleep in, and that means that your sleep routine is out of whack. You know, your eating habits, or constantly going to the fridge. So trying to stick to your routine of what you were when you were going to work in an office, and trying to implement that same routine at home will give you structure. So that's about keeping a good balance around mental stimulation, but also that you have purpose. The other part would be then to, if you don't have work, and you are one of the those individuals, or those 1 million people that became unemployed, is how do you then work through that stress of becoming unemployed or reduced hours? So, you know, whether you change your perspective and reframe it in your mind of thinking, okay, yes, I'm one of those unfortunate ones, but how do I use this time that I have to upskill, to learn a new skill, or to, you know, do some readings, or to diversify my skill set, so that you are capitalizing on this extra time that is being given to you. As we know, we already were living in a lifestyle that was very, very busy. We were constantly busy, constantly on the go. What this pandemic has done now is actually put pause on so many aspects of our life. And that's not a bad thing. When we think about if we're constantly in that rat race and just running and doing and waking and not having conscious, or being conscious about taking that time to breathe, eat, sleep, you know, rest, rejuvenate, reflect, it actually allows for a bit of that balance to come in. So those would be a few things that I think we need to look at around mental health strategies.
Yep, great. We just had a question that was just posted on those tips and strategies that you both shared, that I was wanting to know as well. Is we can become quite overwhelmed with the constant breaking news reports every 5 minutes, and these WhatsApp messages that are coming through from the family with, you know, the question says, conspiracy theories are quack remedies for COVID-19. I had one that said haldi dud, being turmeric milk, is the cure. And the question is, how do you address this with family without starting an argument or increasing everyone's stress and anxiety levels? Which is exactly a really great question.
I think in the beginning, I'll just share my own experience. In the beginning, I was watching the news 24/7. Like, I had it on and I was constantly checking and just consumed by it. Now I will structure my day that, yes, I will watch the news at 7. ABC, keep it to good source, that is my time to check on the update. If I have it constantly on in the background, my mental energy is taken up by that. Yep. I think with anything, we have to think of it, it can be distraction. So our brain can only consume so much information. And so we have to, you know, just like we have filters for our kids on parental control and, you know, what they can and cannot see, we need to put that filter on for our own brain that understand, yes, we need to know and we need to be informed if there's been you know, more things that we need to be aware of, but not to the point where we're dreaming and sleeping and waking up and thinking that we've got this virus or something's going to happen, because that's how that counter transference can happen. So off to you, Dr. Singh.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's really up to us to be sort of a bit more disciplined, because it's right at our fingertips, isn't it? You know, we can scroll the phone and it's right there and it feels like we're in it, you know. So I, again, tell my patients, set yourself a time, you know, whether it be half an hour in the middle of the day or it's going to be in the evening, have your favorite channels, a well-reputed news source, you know, and just go to that. That's it. Similarly, with all these home remedies and WhatsApp things, I think, you know, everyone needs to be very, I guess, careful in where they're getting the information from and making sure it's coming from a reputable source. You know, so maybe again, sticking to, you know, maybe like for Queensland Health, you know, it might be, you know, certain, as I said, the government, Department of Health, etc., your GP, or, you know, just yeah, sources that are definitely going to have the evidence base behind it, not just hearsay. And you'll see so much of that happening. It's natural, you know, people will give it any old remedy, but it's important that we don't take everything on board and just go with that and believe in anything we hear.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're all kind of hanging out for a remedy and a cure.
Yes.
So we
Yes.
kind of hold on to that information. So that's really
Yes.
good in terms of limiting how much TV time and how much screen
Yes.
time we have, which is a really, really great tip. What I really want to ask both of you is, what's some key information that you can share for our at-risk, vulnerable members of our community? And how can we as a community help those at-risk community groups?
Jatinder, do you want to go first, or?
Oh, okay. So to my knowledge anyway, I would say that the elderly or the older people, those who are over 65, and also those that have chronic health conditions like your diabetes, blood pressure, or lung-related conditions are vulnerable. But I'll leave that to Dr. Singh to highlight a bit more. I would say the other vulnerable cohort might be pregnant women, but also women who are potentially in abusive relationships. Okay, so this whole social isolation issue that we're seeing, where women who may be in abusive relationships are struggling to seek or access help. So certainly, you know, there is a lot of news coverage now coming out, and how do we try to assist those vulnerable people to at least get help or have access to you know, support services. So I think certainly what I was reading, like in France, pharmacists have developed like a code for victims to be able to tell them if they are a victim or need assistance. I think, you know, if we think about the places where we are allowed to go, which is your shopping centres or those places, it might be that we might need to look at how do we disseminate some of that information about where to get help, particularly for communities where English is not the first language. I think I'll let Dr. Singh talk about the elderly or the older clients.
Yeah. So I guess the vulnerable groups that we're talking about, correctly said, so anyone over 70 or then over 65 with any of the chronic medical conditions, definitely. Our Indigenous people above the age of 50, and then pregnant women, or even any female that's got a young toddler as well. So, you know, they would be considered the vulnerable group. Apart from then what we were talking about, you know, anyone who's suffering from an abusive relationship, either way. So there's certain groups there. I think, again, they need to firstly know that they're not alone, that they do have resources or access to people that can help them. Like you said, often it is a matter of they may not be able to directly reach out. They may need to have code words or, you know, hidden messages so people get the idea. But I think, again, it's important, again, if we as a community, as well as GPs or mental health workers, etc., as long as we're keeping our minds open and we are constantly asking and seeking, you know, are you okay? Just the simple question. I think, you know, it's really important that we are making sure that people are not feeling that they are alone, and that there is always help. You know, in any given situation, there's always a way out. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's really good, just to check in with our other community members. And Jatinder, I just wanted to ask you, like, there may be some, with the domestic and family violence situation that you talked about, that, you know, there may be an increase in domestic violence incidences during this time, which may not go reported because people are isolated. And victims are not particularly just women. Victim can be children and men as well. What can someone who's experiencing domestic and family violence do if they are experiencing the stigma around leaving their abusive partners as well?
Ruthie, that's a hard question. Well, okay. I mean, most of the people know that I do a lot of work as a social worker in the DV space, and I and also the sector, professionals working in the sector, we are very, very concerned because the cases that are coming forward are the ones that are actually presenting at hospital, and there's been police involvement, so they've been very high risk. And the only thing that I can say is that, you know, bystanders, neighbors, our communities, you know, we need to look at then who else can be that support person who may recognize. So, you know, a case that was told to me recently that people heard the screams, but no one actually picked up the phone to call police. So we can't have that. We can't have that in Australian society where we all know the number 000, which work 24/7, and the hospitals work 24/7.
Yeah.
So those are two key places that are open during this pandemic that will be able to assist anyone. They won't turn or close the doors. I think our community leaders, you know, can play a leadership role. So, you know, if we do have or hear of concerns, is a matter of how do we pick up the phone and reach out. You know, I get women contacting me by phone. I had an email recently just saying she needed DV help, but then she hasn't responded back. But I have no name, I have no address. So people will know how to get help if they're able to get help. But I think maybe during this time, what we all can do is just have a look at, as bystanders or as concerned community members, citizens, is maybe just keeping an eye out, is someone vulnerable? And do we just say, are you okay? Do you need any help?
Yeah, as simple as that.
Yeah, if we take a bit of like a duty of care, if you like, at the moment, anyone and everyone could do that as a community. You know, if we all put ourselves in the other shoes, you know, and sort of go, okay, well, you know, I would like someone to ask me the same thing. You know what I mean? So if we all help each other out at this time in particular, I think that's the way to go. We all need to look out for each other. So it's really important.
Yeah, and I really liked your point, Dr. Singh, is that, you know, whilst we might be isolated, we're not socially isolated. So just, you know, checking in on your family and your friends is a really good, important. You know, one of the other vulnerable groups in our society may be international students and migrants who may be facing job loss because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and who may not be, unfortunately, available to the government relief or entitled to that. What advice would you provide to those vulnerable members of our community? Because we've heard of some reports of, you know, people committing suicide, which is just so tragic. And how can we, as, you know, privileged and lucky and blessed to be in this country and entitled to that support, how can we support those people as well?
Yeah, look, I think, again, you know, we have a duty to fellow humans, you know, whoever they are, wherever they're from, you know, and whatever they do. So if they're here in our country, we should, however, you know, possible, help them out. And I know that, you know, for instance, if we take migrants or students who've come, say, from India, for example, maybe they could approach organisations, whether they be the Sikh temple, the Hindu temple, you know, also certain organisations in that way are definitely going out at the moment and providing, you know, say food or relief, or even, I guess, donations, etc., to help, you know, for accommodation and things. I've heard of that here on the Gold Coast in Brisbane. But also then there's the other organisations like cultural societies. I've heard of, you know, different ones, Gopio and stuff. So there's a lot of different organisations that could be called upon. I know that within the communities, there's a lot of groups that are wanting to help these, you know, slightly more disadvantaged people at the moment. And I think that's a great thing. Like I was talking, selflessness, you know, it's really a good thing to be able to help someone out at the moment. It helps them, it helps us. So why not do that?
Yeah, I would agree with in there too. I think the universities also need to step up. They certainly have, become very wealthy. It's a $3 to $4 billion industry, the tertiary sector. So a number of the universities have developed, support packages for international students. But I think first and foremost, I would like to think that the duty of care actually falls at the university level first, and all the different societies. The Sikh Gurdwaras, I think, in Brisbane, but also in Sydney and Melbourne, they're doing a lot of free food deliveries to vulnerable communities. So I think, we are stepping up. We can't necessarily change the employment aspect of it because, like I said, we all know 1 million people became unemployed as a consequence of this pandemic, and the employment rate is going to, go up and stay up for quite some time. So, whether people need to be practical and pragmatic and actually make those decisions about whether remaining in Australia or going back to India or their country of origin, those might be legitimate questions. I'm not, saying they all have to go back, but I'm saying if they don't have the financial means to stay and support themselves for the next 6 to 12 months, that's going to be something that's a reality that they are facing. Yeah.
I was going to say, if I can just add as well, though, maybe with some of them, some businesses that might still be thriving or doing okay, maybe this is a time that they could offer some casual hours, or do you know what I mean? Just maybe just a little bit of pocket money or whatever. So that's something maybe to think about if you're in that situation where you can open up to some of these kids as well, some of these people too.
Oh, look, the agriculture sector, the farming sector, they've been screaming out for, labourers, fruit pickers. So food and, Woolies and Coles have had to increase their groceries because we're all, buying so much because it's the time. So.
Yeah, just on that point, YSPN just released an article yesterday on the industries that are booming and hiring thousands of employees because of the increase in demand. So if you are in that situation, I really encourage you to access that, which is on our website for YSPN and also on all our socials as well. I just wanted to ask one question before we kick it off to the attendees and the participants, is that both of you mentioned that the elderly being a vulnerable group, I guess. One of the predicaments that myself and many of us may be facing is our duty to care for our parents and our grandparents. And we may be feeling feelings of shame or guilt because we're having to self-isolate from them. What advice would you provide so that we can continue to protect those elderly members in our community and also manage the cultural expectations?
I think one would be that we look at communication through FaceTime, phone calls, checking in. I think just for their health and well-being, obviously maintaining that distance. So if you are an essential worker and you're still going out and about and meeting people, and then you meet an elderly family member, I would probably, say that don't do that. Because you don't know what you're exposed to and what you're bringing and exposing your elderly relative to. Drop off groceries or, meals if they are struggling to prepare meals. I think just keeping regular contact. That social distancing, we just have to abide by this time. It's a hard and challenging time, but we're doing it so that they don't become sick. That's what we don't want them to happen.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, we are basically, like you said, we're protecting them. We're showing our love in a different way. It's not a physical way, but, virtually we're doing that. I think it's really important, though, say if you're living in the same household, you've got your parents, you've got your kids, etc., in that extended family situation, then I think it's even more important that you firstly are making sure you're doing all those right things that you've all heard about, the right hand hygiene, the right respiratory etiquette, coughing and sneezing into your elbow, tissue, washing hands, 20 seconds, all those things. But again, if you can possibly maintain that distance, even from your parents, you know, you may need to keep that 1.5, 2 meter distance even within the house. So, you know, you're just, again, you're doing it because you care for them. You don't want them to get sick, because you might get it and not even know about it, but, you know, they get it, they could end up in hospital and ICU, and we don't want that, you know. So it's something which is going to end. Obviously, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, but for now it is hard. But like you said, we virtually can still show our love and our affection, but just not physically at the moment. So
yeah, so lots of virtual hugs.
yes, absolutely.
And Dr. Singh, I just wanted to ask you, you know, we are seeing reports of the numbers decreasing. What would you say to, you know, the elderly, or, you know, some of our family members even that may not be elderly, that, you know, are in the mindset of, you know, koi ni kuch nahi honda, meaning, you know, it's all going to be okay. Our numbers are getting lower, you know, let's ease up these kind of preventative measures now.
Yeah. Look, it's a very positive sign for sure that we are flattening the curve. And as we've been seeing over the last week and a half, you know, the numbers overnight are decreasing and continuing to decrease. But I don't think we should become complacent right now. I don't think we should become relaxed with our restrictions right now, because if we do too soon, I think we're going to see a resurgence and our numbers are just going to go back up again potentially. You know, there's always talk of a second wave that can happen as well. So I really do think from experience around the world and other pandemics in previous history, you know, I think it's really important that we maintain this restriction for a longer period of time rather than sooner. And I think, again, if we do that, we've got a better chance of maintaining, you know, or not just, I guess, mitigating, but we want to actually eradicate the virus totally, you know, so that's really, really important too.
Yeah, so we might just take it to the participant members who have some questions. This one's from Anonymous, and it's a medical question for Dr. Singh, which is question, but still causing some. Different countries have different rules regarding wearing masks. Out, Singapore is fining people for not wearing masks when on daily walks. Is the advice in Australia still to only wear masks if you are sick?
Yeah, look, this has been a very confusing topic, and generally, yes, they're still saying, the medical authorities are still saying that you should only be wearing a mask if you are either sick or you actually have COVID-19, because you're just preventing the spread to the other well people. So that's why you should be wearing a mask. There's a couple of reasons why they're sort of maybe saying that. One is that practically, okay, yes, a sick person wears a mask, but also I guess you've heard of shortages that have been occurring around the world as well. So they're trying to make sure that those proper masks are, I guess, maximised for frontliners, hospitals, where it's absolutely essential, because if they don't have those, they're in big trouble. Having said that, now over the last 10 days, I did see the World Health Organization and USA have definitely now started suggesting that if you are going out even shopping, or, you know, where you may potentially be exposed, you could wear your own face mask, like a cloth mask even, you know, so it isn't something which is unreasonable at all. I think, you know, it is like an obstacle. It sort of prevents us from touching our nose, our mouth, which is one sure way of getting any infection. So there's definitely no reason why you can't. But as long as we're not taking it from the stockpile, I guess, of the hospital workers that really do need it.
Yeah. I might just throw over to Sean, who will explain the Q&A session on how to ask a question as well.
Yep. Hi, guys. I've decided to show my face now. As we go into the 20-minute Q&A, here's how I think it will work best. If you want to ask a question live, simply raise your hand virtually on the Zoom call, and I'll unmute your mic and mention your name so you know to speak. If there's a question that comes through on the Q&A functionality, like Preeti has done, one of us will read it out to the panelists and the rest of the audience. And last but not least, if we do not get to your question today or we run out of time, simply place your question into the post-event survey that we'll be sending out later tonight, and we will publish the answers to the questions on our Facebook page. So let's get this started. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask? It's a bit of a quiet crowd here. I don't see any hands raised. Up, we've got one here. How do you find the motivation when trying to work from home? Any tips on that?
Jacinda?
Routine, time, have a timer, okay? I'll share some of the things that work best for me when I have had to work from home. Good coffee, make sure you got some good caffeine. If your brain works the best where you think you're going to do a lot of writing, use that time in the morning. Your brain is much more alert and active after a good 8-hour sleep. So structure your time. So, make sure that your desk, you have a quiet space in your house. So create like an office space where you got your own computer. You haven't got the distraction of a TV, radio, or, kitchen noise or the fridge coming in. And just being structured. Okay, I'm going to work typically maybe from 9 to 12, and to-do list really works well for me. So if I make a list, okay, I've got to do this report, I've got to read this, I've got to do that, I'm going to make these phone calls, make the list, and then you tick it off. That way you know how productive you were in that 3-hour session. Okay, but work health and safety. Make sure you get your break, have a set time for your morning tea, your lunch break. Think of it like, your own office at home, but mentally prepare yourself like, okay, if I was in the office in the city, what's my behavior like there? Those would be the strategies, from working from home.
Yeah.
Any other suggestions from you, Dr. Kuljeet?
No, I think, look, definitely discipline, having a routine or a little timetable, having a good office space, like you were just saying, and yeah, just making sure you're having regular walk breaks, water breaks, rest breaks, etc. But rewarding yourself too. I think that's really important. We need, a little bit of a reward, a bit of positive reinforcement as well, that you're doing a good job. And just, yeah, I guess pretending that yes, we are at work. This is work now, and because it might be for a little while. So we need to make sure we are telling ourselves this is the way it's going to be for a while. And just self motivation is really, really important. Yeah.
Amazing. With that answered, I'll move on to the next question. We've got one from Amrit Gill. Any tips for managing your inner critic, the part of you that pushes you to be productive, busy, efficient, doing better while you're at home? It feels like burnout can come along very quickly if we don't take care of ourselves. I mean, personally, I've been working at home the last 2 to 3 weeks, and I've felt that it's very hard to blur the lines. I'll start at 7 a.m. The computer's right next to the bed, and I'll keep going there till 7 or 8 p.m. So really interested to hear what you guys have to say on this.
Yeah, no, I think that space, firstly, having your computer near your bed, I don't know that that's a good thing. I would separate the two if you can, firstly.
Yeah.
I think definitely having that physical space is so important. So that gives you that vibe, that whole atmosphere that you really need to get your hat back on, you know what I mean? So it's really important. So you're in that zone to be ready to work and you're at your best. And then, like you said, burnout, yes, it is easy if you are just constant. If you're going from 7 till 7, you're definitely going to burn out. Whereas if you are having regular breaks, you're going, as I said, maybe go out for a little walk, get some fresh air, a bit of sunlight, make sure you are keeping hydrated, you're having your meals on time still. And like I said, we all, at the end of the day, we do need some sort of a little reward. Positive reinforcement is really important too. Yeah.
Thank you. Anything to add there, Jatinda?
I think, yeah, Dr. Singh's mentioned all of that, but I think balance. So if you're a high achiever, yes, or a perfectionist, you're going to want to, get everything done. But because we're in a pandemic, because we are working from home, we also have to be kind and gentle to ourselves. And maybe those normal rules that we've lived by are going to be flexible. Okay. So, we have to be mindful that, this is an adjustment, and, we don't necessarily have to push ourselves to justify being paid for that amount of time. So, you've got, like you got to think about how productive are you going to be? You know, are you as productive in a 3-hour concentrated span, or when you drag it out to 7 hours without a break, and then fatigue sets in and then errors set in? So you've got to think about how much stimulus our brain can handle, and where do you actually produce your best work?
Yeah. Good
Very
advice
true.
there.
Yeah.
Good advice. We've got plenty of questions coming through, so I'm going to move through them quickly. The next one, with news about restrictions starting to ease over the next month or so, how realistic do you think this is? And I guess, will this happen? Is there anything we should be thinking about to prepare for post-COVID-19 life?
Yeah. I think, look, potentially, like we've got, you know, a lot of the international, like repatriation flights that have been occurring, you know, getting our citizens back from overseas. We potentially are going to see an increase in numbers, even though they're going to be quarantined. You know, there is that potential as well. So I think it's a very fluid state. It's a situation that is going to be changing every day. So, you know, I think it's important for us all to go, okay, yes, there may be a bit of relaxation of restrictions in 4 weeks, but that might not happen, and that's still okay. You know what I mean? We have to sort of have our mindset change a little bit too, and that's why all the changes we're making now at home and with our lifestyle, we need to try to make it a sustainable change if we can as well. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
With the flu season, we just have to be mindful of the flu season coming up as well. So
Yes.
we don't want to become too euphoric that Australia is doing really well too quickly, or relax too quickly, because yeah, we've got winter coming up, and you know, with winter and COVID, that's not a good mix either. So
Absolutely, absolutely. And talking of that, the flu vaccinations and pneumo vaccinations are available, so you know, that's something for the community to be aware of too. And that would again just help to make sure that we're not being hit potentially by a few viruses, if you like. So that's something to consider for everybody too.
Yeah. Thank you for that. The next question, and I'm picking at random here. How can you politely tell your family that you need some time to yourself and to leave you alone for a little while? In our community, it seems like some members of my family tend to get offended because they feel like I don't want to socialize with them.
I love this question, and I'm glad a friend asked.
Yeah, yeah. Ah, dear. I think, look, yeah, Jacinda, do you want to go first?
oh, I think there is nothing wrong with having me time. Okay,
Yeah.
I do it all the time. I am guilty of it. You know, I will switch off, have the phone on airplane mode, or if you need to, you know, Netflix or veg out or whatever, go for a walk. It's so important. Like, as a frontline essential worker, and you know, I'm still out there working, self-care is really, really important. Self-care means also that you put boundaries. You just, you know, you sort of say, okay, I need to have this switch off time.
Yeah.
So that I can come back and have a better positive mood, positive headspace when I engage with family members or relatives.
Yes.
So yeah, really, really important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, look, that me time is essential for everybody, because if you look after yourself better, you're going to be able to look after others better as well. And that could be in your family, your children, your parents, you know, but also say if you're at work in the front line as well. So it's got a lot of, you know, ramifications, if you like. So it's really, really important. Put yourself as priority. You know, you are number one. And if you look after number one first, you will be able to look after everybody else too.
Wonderful. Thanks. On to the next question. Sophia says, thank you, Jatinda and Kuljit, for your continued work and connecting with us this Saturday night. Question for Jatinda. Do you have any advice or tips for communicating with younger children that may be feeling or projecting some of their anxiety during this time?
Oh, that's an interesting one. That's good. It's good. Look, I think for primary school age kids, definitely they're out of their routine. They're out of whack. You know, it's the whole, why am I not able to go to school anymore? And trying to fill in all of this time and space. I do feel for a lot of the parents who are having to juggle working from home and then homeschooling. That's not easy. I think children really, really thrive on good routine. Okay, so we need to be mindful then what is their routine. Making sure that they're eating on time. Also making sure that we're not just giving them the iPad so that they are constantly on iPad only. So I think that's a concern I do have. I think having good quality time with children and using language that they understand and trying to frame it in a positive way. Okay, that this pandemic is not going to last forever. Hopefully in Australia, it may only last maybe 6 months that we're thinking, and then we might start to get normal routine back. So trying to make it fun and active, try to, have that really good, sort of connection with your child. So if they are anxious, they are worried, or they're struggling to sleep, spending that quality time, bedtime stories, playtime, just giving them that space so that they can talk about what it is that they're worried about. So
yeah, thanks for that. As we're coming close to 6 o'clock, just mindful of everybody's time on a Saturday night, and especially that of our panelists, I'll put through one more question. And as I mentioned in the chat and also earlier, if we do not get to your questions today, we'll be sending out a post-event survey, put them through in there, and we'll send them through to their panelists. And as soon as they respond, we'll publish their answers. So for the final question, both Dr. Singh and Jatinder have mentioned the importance of sleep. If you're struggling to fall asleep, restless sleep, and to be honest, in the last 2 weeks, I have experienced a little bit of this, and just not able to switch our brain off, especially if we've been working all day from our desks, and then waking up the following day very fatigued. What are some tips and strategies, or even some apps that you may have seen out in the marketplace to be able to combat this or get into a good routine or develop good habits to ensure that we're switching off the brain at night?
Yeah.
I'll let Dr. Singh go first.
Okay, thank you. So look, this is again a very common problem that a lot of people go through. Sleep hygiene is something that I'll just give you a few suggestions. So firstly, avoiding any stimulants. So if you know that you're already having difficulty sleeping, then especially in the latter half of the day and going to bed, make sure you're not having too much coffee, chocolate, any energy drinks, any of those sort of things. So make sure you are reducing the stimulant intake as well. Next thing is that say about an hour before bedtime, make sure you have stopped doing any sort of brain stimulating activities, or any adrenaline pumping TV shows or scrolling down COVID-19 or anything like that. Make sure you've given yourself at least that 1 hour time to just get into that zone of sleeping and just turning your brain off. That's really, really important to do that. So we're just setting that whole ambience and that vibe again to get down to bedtime routine. There's a lot of things, making sure physical exercise is occurring through the day. That can be very helpful for sleep as well. So if you're going for 30 to 45 minutes of aerobic exercise, that can help you. Some people find that having some sort of relaxing music playing, that can be helpful. Maybe having a warm shower bath, a warm cup of milk, all these things can be helpful. There are a lot of apps that you can access now, calm meditation. There's a lot of different ones that are available. It just depends. Everyone's an individual. It depends which one really suits you, which thing works for you. But I think really the key is turning the brain, off or down from that zone of heightened state to the slowed down state is really, really important. And then maybe you might need to talk to someone like Jatinder or myself, and we can help you out.
Yeah, no, I concur. I definitely reduce your mental stimulus, probably not after 6 p.m. So, yeah, I think the fact that if you've got your laptop and your phone and your iPads right near your bed, that's probably not a good thing, because the lights in your phone actually keep your brain awake. So we need to understand electromagnetic, waves, and how does that affect our brain waves and sleep, and how do we switch off the brain. Exercise is always a good one. That's what I always give to tell my patients, go for a good walk, aerobic exercise. Yoga, good, Pilates good, meditation good. Also having a nice hot shower or bath. So doing those activities that actually try to relax your muscles, any tension that you might have in your muscles from fatigue or sitting, so that your body actually triggers that response to go into sleep mode. That's what we want it to do. We want it to go into sleep mode. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I'm going to hand over to Preeti now to wrap up the session and thank the panelists for their time. Thank you very much, Jatinder and Kuljit. Preeti?
Thank you everyone who joined as well. It's been great. We had 49 participants on the webinar. The questions were rolling through. Like Sean said, if we didn't get to your question tonight, we will be providing them to the speakers and we'll be emailing their published responses to your answers as well. There's also, as we mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, this has been Facebook live streamed and a copy of the recording will be available on our socials. So please feel free to share that with family members who were not able to join today and you think that would benefit from the information that was provided. We're having so many comments from a lot of participants thanking both yourself, Dr. Singh and Jatinder, for giving your time on a Saturday night. I think it's been really warming to know that, we're not in this together, and this is like a really great example of how, we're not socially isolating. There was 49 of us who came together and had a really great conversation, really uplifted our spirits. So really, really thank you for your advice and your tips and strategies and the insight that you provided tonight. So that's all from us. Remember to follow us on our social medias, YSPN, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and we'll be hosting a lot more webinars given that we're not able to physically hold events, but we're still very much connected. And I just want to read out some comments before we go. Thanks so much, YSPN team, for organising this, and Dr. Singh and Jatinder Kaur for your expertise. That was incredibly insightful and super helpful. Thank you for your time and expertise. This helped a lot and I appreciate it. And Manny Singh, that was great. Thank you, Kuljit, Jatinder and the YSPN team. Very insightful. So that's a lovely way to finish this. If you are experiencing signs of stress and anxiety, please reach out to your medical professionals. It is not a sign of weakness at all, and we are all in this together. And we'll touch base with you after this webinar. So thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.